Happy International Literacy Day, my dear friends, from my household to your household. I hope this day brings you the opportunity to read something that will push you forward in this life. Literacy is not all about learning how to read and write. It's also about being able to unlearn things that don't serve you, being able to learn things that will take you forward, and also giving you that opportunity to really learn things that are beneficial to you. Today, I have a few special guests, authors from all over the world, who wants to share with you what literacy meant to them and how it has shaped their life. And I hope you get to learn something from them, if not the authors themselves, their point of views, and their books. That being said, thank you so much for all the authors who took the time to join me on this video project. It means so much to me. For those who aren't able to submit their videos, I understand, but thank you so much for considering it. Hopefully next year will be an awesome opportunity to take part in this. Today, my journey ends here. If you're new to the channel, you love books, you love literature, you love poetry, you love talking about writing, life as a whole, then consider this channel. Hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on so that you can be notified when I upload new videos, and give this video a thumbs up, as a way to support this channel. Otherwise, I hope you're reading books that are giving you more pleasure to take off the pressure of life. And until my next video, mwah.
Hello everyone, my name is Cynthia Abdallah, a teacher and an author. I'm the author of a poetry chapbooks, The Author's Feet and My Six Little Fears. My other short stories collection, in collaboration with two other young authors, is titled The Musunzu Tree and Other Stories. Postcards from a Girl, a collection of vignettes and short stories, is coming out this week, fingers crossed. Alright, on to the big question. What does literacy mean to me? Look behind me. I'm a language and literature teacher. Literacy is all about reading, encouraging everybody to take on a book and see where the book will take them. Alright, so while growing up, I spent a lot of time reading. And how did I do this? Our school didn't have any library, so what did we do? There was a girl in my classroom who always had a book, and at the end of the school day I would check her bag and grab her book, take off home with it, and she would do the same if I had an interesting book that I had borrowed from a friend. So reading has always been important to me. It has always been this thing that just relaxes my mind, this thing that really takes me from one place to another. I have traveled to many places, not on a plane, but within a book. I urge all of us to take on reading. You don't have to read big novels. You can start by reading little short stories, magazine articles on issues around the world. Let's not spend all our time discussing politics, because politics, it's the same thing, different people in it. So enjoy this World Literacy Day, and I hope that you enjoy a book or two over this period. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marial Awendit, South Sudanese poet, songwriter, and essayist. I'm the winner of the 2016 South Sudan Youth Talent Award for the category of the Best Poet, and the 2018 Babishaniwe Poetry Award for African Poets. I am the author of the poetry collections Keeping the Sun Secret, published by Monaka Media and Publishing Limited, Whispers of a Brewing Dawn, published by Carnelian Heart Publishing Limited, The Night Does Not Drown Us, published by Babishaniwe Poetry Award. All around the world, 781 million adults cannot read or write. It is in this context that I bring our full attention to the importance of literacy. Literacy is essential for record keeping, preservation of culture and religion. Literacy facilitates activism for the protection of vulnerable groups from violations of human rights and forms of abuse. Literacy is important for knowledge sharing and advancement in mathematics. Literacy is essential for durable storytelling and sharing messages of peace and social cohesion. I wish everyone a happy International Literacy Day, 8th September 2023.
Hi, my name is Meshack Yobby and I grew up around books, literally. I spent a lot of my primary school weekends at the Kenya National Library Services just reading, not even doing my homework, just reading novels and storybooks and the picture books and listening to the storytellers that they used to bring. And I think that kind of literacy had a very profound effect on me because I got to understand the power of words. Words could make me happy or sad or angry or transport me from where I was to a place that I'd never been to. And that will be my reality at that moment. And I think that is how I got introduced to writing, because I did a lot of writing in high school. Appeared in the Insider magazine a couple of times, entered a number of writing contests, and everyone was asking, when are you writing a book? When are you writing a book? It's not easy. I've had several starts and stops, and it just wasn't good enough. And for my very first book, which is Once There Was a Star, I took a big risk because this is not a Kenyan story. This is a story about Somalia and how the civil war began. And the inspiration for this book was a visit that I took to the Dadaab refugee camp. And I met people who had never ever left the refugee camp before. People who had been born there, but they can't go anywhere else because they're refugees. And to leave the camp, you need permission, and getting permission is not easy. And even going back to Somalia isn't really an option because this is the only home that they know. And I wondered why their parents had not gone back to Somalia. And so I had to explore the causes of the civil war that ravaged the country. So I went back to 1977 and told the whole story of how the Somali government gradually, incrementally broke down to a point where it could not govern anymore, and Siad Barre fled the country. And then I also had to explore migration. What challenges do refugees face when moving from one point to another? And I think for those of us who've never ever experienced civil war of any kind before, it looks like so many things have been exaggerated, but I guarantee you 99% of this book is based on fact. You can Google the events in this book, you will find them. These are things that happened. These are things that still continue to happen. And again, it was a big risk writing this book because I'm not Somali, so I had to understand Somali culture well as much as I could. The language, relationships, food, politics, clanism, religion. So it was an interesting experience researching and writing this book. It honestly drained me because I didn't expect to find the details that I found. And for so many people who've read this book, at the very end of it, they felt a bit of anger or profound sadness. And that is the reality. That is the story that I wanted to tell so that we know the value of peace and stability.
Hi, my name is Muthoni Maina. I am the author of The Leaves of Me, my first novel. This year, this World Literacy Day, I would like to encourage more people to read more books, donate books to libraries, buy more books. Literacy is very important to me because I believe everyone should have access to books and everyone should have access to an education. And what literacy means to me, I grew up in a school, so I had access to as many books as I could, and I loved reading, and I loved sitting by myself reading. I used to even get in trouble at school for reading books instead of studying the academic books. But all's well that ends well, because I ended up writing my own book. And I also want to encourage all those little kids out there who love reading and just living in their own worlds. Keep reading and donate books to your library. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Akin Akingbogun. I am the author of 4 dark twisted thrillers. I live in Lagos, Nigeria. First unpublished work was when I was in secondary school and I was 11. I published a play and had my dad type it up. It became the first background for the works that I would later write over 25 years later. I have an unquenchable thirst for learning, and this has caused me to be more self-taught than quite a number of my colleagues when I was in secondary school. So most of the things I learned were things that I had to study myself, and I read everything from space travels all the way to astral traveling. I read virtually everything I could lay my hands on. I wrote essays in competitions within the States, and there were quite a number of other things similar that I'd done. These things shaped me and shaped the kind of works that I would later write in my books. Those experiences that I had eventually became part of the things that defined the stories that I've written in the 4 books that I've had. The stories in my books depict societal issues and values. I try to make it as local as possible so that people here can connect with the lessons that are there to be learned, and that's basically what the stories that I write in my books do. And I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to share my experience.
Yeah, my name is Austin Kaluba. I'm a journalist, poet, translator, and short story writer. But several short stories published on reputable literary online sites. These stories have been compiled finally in a book, in a collection of short stories called Mensa's London Blues and Other Stories. It was published recently on May 16th in the United Kingdom by a boutique press called the Canadian Heart Publishing. Literacy has impacted very positively, has impacted on my writerly, development very positively. The first time I was introduced to the written word through the alphabet and the primers, both in English and Chivemba. Chivemba is one of the widely spoken languages. And I consider, just literacy as one of the, major inventions in this century, to enable people who are communicating orally to put their thoughts on paper and share among themselves. I think it is a giant leap in the communication area. My collection of short stories, Mensa's London Blues, has 11 short stories with characters hailing from different parts of Africa. There are 3 stories with Zambian characters, The Sign of the Cross, Anna's Song, and Mr. English. Then there's a story, Kippy Goes Home, with a South African character. Then Maria's Vision, A Dream Deferred, Dambozo Writes to Samantha. These are Zimbabwean characters. Then we have another story with a Rwandese character called the Hate That Hate Produced. Then there's another good story written in an epistolary short story form called Anna's Song for Kenyan readership. Anna's Song is about an aging sex worker who is writing to a friend who was deported not to go back to the UK. It challenges the false images that we are given as Africans, that the grass is always greener in Europe, and as a diasporan book, the theme of most of these stories evolve around the diasporan experience. The diasporan novel now is growing. You have other writers like Brian Chikwaba, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie through her book Americana, and several other books that are coming on the market. Yeah. So I feel this would make very interesting reading, and the fact that it has got a plethora of characters hailing from different African countries.
Hi all, my name is Richard Ahiagbede and I'm originally from Ghana, West Africa. I currently reside in the United States and I'm also an author. I think literacy is hugely important. It is a way that I make sense of the world. It is a way that I discern the world and also convey. I think it is a mechanism of how meaning is passed between two different people. This is my first published work, A Different Lens. It is a story about a West African family living within the United States, and it shows the dynamics between family, between parents and children, and the expectations. I think this book achieves a number of purposes. First and foremost, I think it brings the story of African immigrants to the doorstep of many. Secondly, I think children of the diaspora will really resonate with children of the diaspora because it shows the struggles that your parents had to go through to uproot their lives from one country and move to another country. And thirdly, I think it gives a very honest account of the struggles that immigrants face. I think oftentimes in places back home in Ghana, Kenya, and places in Africa, we have this utopia picture of the West. And yes, the West, Europe, the Americas has opportunities and has promises that it does deliver on. But I also think there are struggles that people who come here go through, and I wanted to give a very honest and full picture account of that. Being someone who has essentially grown up in two different cultures, being from Ghana and now living in the United States, I think it gives me an opportunity to bridge the gap. I think it gives me an opportunity to tell a story that is unique because I understand, being someone who understands two different languages, two different cultures, I think, again, I'm in a very unique position to bridge the gap. And I think to bring it back around, literacy, right? The tool to do that is language, and I will continue to do so. All right. Thank you all, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Happy World Literacy Day, everyone. Hi, my name is Wadzanai Tadhuvana from Norton, Zimbabwe. Growing up, my father always used to tell me that I'm so privileged to be able to read and write, to be literate. My grandmother was not literate. She could not read and write, and this is because of historical imbalances and inequalities. Back then, women were not sent to school because it didn't make economic sense to spend a fortune on a girl child who was going to get married. So as a result, she never went to school. So my father always drilled it in me that I was really privileged to be able to read and write, and I cherished it so much. And to celebrate this, I read so many stories. I read so many English novels, Shona novels. My favorite Shona novels being Kurawone, Tambauga Mwanangu. English, I had Oliver Twist, Robinson Crusoe. That is when I was young. Now I like Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Tsitsidanga Rembwa. I started doodling as a child to tell my story, to just express myself. Then I moved on to writing short stories, and in Zimbabwe there was a soapy called Studio 263, and it inspired me to write a play for our prize giving day when I was in grade 5. But unfortunately, the characters became so complex and I could not wind it down, and as a result it wasn't performed. But with time, I wrote poetry, I still do, and I write short stories. So my latest work is featured in Tesare, which is a collection of different poems by Zimbabwean women, and I encourage you all to buy this book. It's available on Amazon. It's your way of supporting us, and also it's important to read stories from our perspective, to read our poetry, which is an expression of ourselves, to tell our truth and to tell the Zimbabwean story. Thank you very much.